Okay, so let's try and apply our measurements for the figure to a couple of photos here. So here we have a lady walking down the street. Top of her head is about here. I'm going to guesstimate her heel is about here, hitting the ground. Okay, and then if we find halfway, I just did some rough calculations here, and I used millimeters for this just so I can break things in half pretty quick. 210 millimeters, so 105 is halfway. So there's halfway, and then divide that in half. So 105 is about 50 something, and that lands. So if that's halfway from here to here, the knee is sitting right above that. So that looks pretty good. And then from here we're dividing it into thirds, and I'm not quite sure. There's the hip joint right there, and then the head, it seems like we're looking down a little bit because we're seeing the total top of her head here, so the perspective is making things off a little bit, because probably her collarbone is here, but if we divide it into thirds, things do kind of work out there. So somewhere around here is her clavicle, her collarbone, and then belly button would be somewhere in here. And then we can do the arms. So the shoulders are here, of course, and then her elbows are here. The joint is sitting right there. The wrist is right here, so it's just below that in this picture. And again, things are never going to line up absolutely perfect. This system here of dividing the top into three and the bottom into halves is just a good average proportion that'll always work. And then if you want to individualize it and make a person have longer legs or a longer torso, that's up to you, depending on whatever individual you're looking at, or if you're creating your own characters. All right, so then the elbows are here, the wrists are here, and then we can draw our little triangles for the hands. So that works out pretty good. It's pretty average body. And then let's see if we can do this one here. This gal's resting most of her body weight on this supporting leg right here. So the hips are going this direction. The shoulders are going roughly this direction. And I'm just guesstimating here the anatomy in here, putting the pair of underwear here. So the hip bone's going to be right about here. So that'll be halfway right here. And then the heel, now she's got high heels on, so it's tough to guesstimate. There's the ankle. So I'm going to guess her foot is about here. And let's see how that works out. So that is 130 centimeters, and that is 110 centimeters. So something is amiss. I'm trying to figure out where her foot would be. I think that's pretty accurate there. So maybe her hip is a little lower then. Maybe that would make more sense to have it here. Okay, so we're going to put this down here like that. And then we'll measure from here to here. Now we have 125, and 125 is here, so a little off, might even be a little lower, and that would still make sense. So somewhere in there anyway. And now we find the collarbone here, between here and here, just find a halfway mark for the elbows, and ta-da, there it is. Okay, so even though it's on an angle, you know, if you put the foot here and then measure halfway, you're going to find where the knee goes from here to here. Find halfway, the ankle's here, and from the ankle to here, in between there's the ankle. The hip, knee is above halfway like that, and elbow sitting right on this third line, this one too. Now she's tilted a little bit and swung this in, so it's a little lower. And then if you swing this arm down, the wrist is going to be about here. swing this down. The wrist is going to be here and the hand. So you can kind of use this system to bend the arms too. Just if you have a shoulder here and an arm here and then you bend the arm up, well, there's your wrist. It's going to be about there. And then the triangle for the thumb and the triangle for the hand, like that. So you can, you know, practice measuring things by taking photos and working out the measurements over top of that. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, so let's start drawing human bodies and let's develop a system for total beginners. So where are we going to start? Well, I think the first thing you might want to do is get a whole bunch of reference material and from the internet or books or photos you have wherever. What I like to do is I like to have a whole bunch of different kinds of reference materials, but I think the first place you should always start is with realistic human reference. So here I have downloaded and printed off a bunch of photos of people rock climbing, doing gymnastics, doing contortions, and all kinds of nice exciting poses like that. And I put them in black and white so I can just concentrate on the body position and not worry about the color or the prettiness of the background or anything like that. I just want to figure out how the body is moving. So get yourself a bunch of human references. Okay, there's a contortionist and a bodybuilder, gymnast, rock climber. Okay, and one thing also, you want to have exciting poses. You also want to have some basic poses, so like the casual stance where a person's resting most of their weight on one leg, just a person walking, or even something as basic as a person just standing, so you can just measure the body. And there's one I've done some measuring on, and the walking one again. And then this is from a model just posing on a runway. And then you can really do some good measuring. So I suggest you get all kinds of reference material like that. And then also I like to have, which is my favorite, comic books, you know, posters and comic book covers and things like that. So here's a Silver Surfer, and there's a Conan by Barry Smith, and then a beautiful Thor cover by John Buscema, Submariner, more Conan by Barry Smith, more sports. So get yourself a bunch of reference material. That's the message. Another thing you'll want to do, especially if you're a beginner and you haven't done this before, is you should get some basic shapes or volumes to draw. So things like cylinders. Okay, so here's my favorite T. Okay, so just a cylinder. Of course, everybody has cylinders at home. Everybody can recognize this. Okay, so just put it in front of you and draw it at different angles and positions. Okay, because that can represent an arm or a leg or whatever. Okay, find some different spheres to draw. Okay, and let me see if I can get that to sit still. Okay, and how about I put my eraser right there, because even though this building is supposed to be level, it seems to want to move. There we go. All right, or even something like this, a little sports ball or something like that. So you put them in front of you and you practice drawing these basic shapes. Well, you have spheres, you have cylinders. What's another basic shape? Well, cubes and squares and rectangles. So here's a little box, you can put that. And if you're a beginner, you really need to practice drawing these basic shapes so that when you want to draw something more sophisticated, like a human, you're used to drawing cubes and rectangles at all kinds of angles. Okay, basic, and then tilted and curved and all that kind of stuff. So get yourself some shapes and volumes to practice drawing. Okay, now we're going to start by creating a really simple mannequin which is just going to consist of spheres or ovals and sticks. Okay, so it's basically a stick figure joined by little spheres as the joints of the body, and I like to use little triangles for the feet. So real simple. You can see here this one has bad proportions, just doesn't look right, and then this is basically the system we're going to use, and I'll get into that in a little bit here. Okay, why learn this stick figure mannequin? Because, well, there's a lot of reasons. You have to start somewhere, and it's an easy thing to produce quickly, and it's easy to pose if you want to draw your character running or walking or jumping or doing whatever. You can lay it out really quick, and then it's also very easy to add details to as you learn and build your anatomy library and drawing skills. So it's a great place to start. Okay, so here we go. Basic mannequin. Okay, and I'll show you how to measure this out. 3 areas for the top half, 2 areas for the bottom half. The top and the bottom are roughly equal. Okay, real simple. And then later on we can add the rib cage, add some kind of representation for the hip area in here. Draw more sophisticated arms, learn how to bend and move things. So this is a great system to learn to use. We'll also learn how to a mathematical way to cut this top area into exact thirds, and I'll show that in another part of this video here. And okay, so here I have divided the top part into thirds, but the other part is you can just divide this top third section into quarters and basically give the head 3/4 of that area and the neck the bottom quarter. So 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and the bottom 1/4 will be the neck area between the chin and basically the collarbone. Okay, so that's some other measurements we're going to use. Here I've drawn it out, okay, the top half, the bottom half, and okay, I'll go over this quickly here. Basically what you do is you find your center line and you draw any kind of rectangle. The only thing you have to make sure is that this side is equal to this side. And then what you do is you draw a line from corner to corner, corner to corner, and then you take this half and you draw a line from corner to corner and corner to corner. And where this line and this line intersect is going to be 1/3 of this area. All right, and that works really good. And then of course the top part I've divided into quarters. The top 3/4 will be the head, and this part here will be the neck. And for the bottom half, the only marker we need is that the knees will be above this halfway line. Okay, so and here's a few that I've done freehand. Okay, and a couple more that I've done really quickly. And then on this one here, I started adding some, mass to it. I started adding the muscles and basic features to it. So it's easy to start and easy to start adding more details and sophistication to the mannequin as you learn body anatomy. Let's say you want to start drawing a sophisticated picture and you haven't done it before. Well, a really good thing you can do is take one of your favorite comics and take a look at the cover. Let's get this out of here. So one thing you can do is take a look at one of your comics and you can say, okay, well, I want to draw this, maybe even substitute your own characters, but you love the layout and you want to learn how to do this type of thing. Well, what you can do is you can start laying it out with just using the stick figures and the spheres, little balls, to connect it. And so here you can see I have Ultron here, and then I put in, what did I do next? I guess I probably did Giant Man here, and then Yellow Jacket is right here, and then the Vision is over here. Thor, now that's, drawing that, it's really good to lay it out. Right here's his head and his hips and all that. And then over here we have Iron Man. So doing this kind of thing is really, really good to help you learn how to lay out a picture really quick. And here's one of my all-time favorite Avenger covers here. Let me get it for you. So here is one of my favorite comics of all time, John Buscema cover. Who drew it inside? I'm not sure. Oh yeah, John Buscema drew it. And I had a hard time when I was younger laying this out. But if you just do this system where you lay things out using stick figures and the ball to put things in place, then doing this kind of cover is not that hard. Okay, so this is a great way to start. Let's see what else I've done here. Okay, here I can show you what the Silver Age comics. Now this is Avengers number 56, and the date of this was 1968. So, and the standard size of comics back then was 6 5/8 inches wide and 10 1/4 inches tall. So if you want to practice in that area, that'll give you a good working area to draw the comics, or at least lay them out, and you can see how they're going to look. Now don't forget that comics were drawn on 11 by 17 size paper. So basically 11 by 17 is 2 regular sheets of paper side by side, and they were drawn on vertically like this. So and then they shrunk them down so the lines would be thicker. It would be easier for the artist to draw them, and then when they were shrunk down, the lines would be thicker and just a lot nicer. So they drew them on 11 by 17 and then shrunk them down, and they were printed on 6 5/8 inches by 10 1/4 inches. Here is another cover that I just laid out. So I get to go back to my childhood and do all these drawings that I loved back in the day and still do. I still enjoy these. Okay, so here is another cover that I loved back in the day, Avengers number 104, and the Scarlet Witch doing her thing. Looks like it's against a Sentinel. And yeah, so, you know, quickly rough out the area that I'm going to draw it in. And then, now I've done a lot more detail here, but you can still see that I basically used the stick and ball method to lay out everything. Another tip is to draw the hands and feet first and then connect everything so you know your body is going to fit inside of your drawing area. So that's another great reason to use these basic mannequins for laying things out. You know, you can turn them pretty quick. Front view, 3/4 view, and a side view, walking, flying, running. Here I drew my V-hip in there, and it looks kind of funny because I also drew the arm in behind, maybe too dark. But anyway, here's the shoulder, elbow, and front hand, and then this arm is actually in behind the body, the V-hip, and then, you know, just basically laying things out. And then starting to add in more sophisticated details, the shapes of the legs and all that kind of stuff. Another person running. Here's, you know, turning boxes, drawing them, drawing torso shapes and hip shapes and things like that. So we're going to be doing all of that. Here's a fun little Archie cover that I wanted to lay out. So here's the original cover, and then here's my layout using the stick and ball method. Okay, stick figure method. So it's a really good way to learn how to lay out drawings. Here's again is the same idea, but I started adding in the details of the torso and legs and things like that. One thing I do want to mention is that we're going to learn to, in this series, we're going to learn to draw a lot of different poses. Okay, here's a great little book that I got a long time ago, and shows you how to do this and draw figures out in all kinds of different poses. Okay, walking, I guess this is just the walking and sitting one. And then running, jumping. So this system works really good, so you can lay out your pictures really quickly, more running and jumping and fighting. Again, you always want to go back to realistic reference, but this is, again, a great way to get started. And we'll be developing all kinds of different mannequins throughout this, and so you have a repertoire of shapes and forms that you can use to you know, create male body, female body, real simple things that work and are very effective. So you have, again, you have a repertoire of things that you can use. Again, going back to spheres and rectangles and cylinders, you can learn how to do a mannequin something like this. And before I get into that, I just want to say again, buy a bunch of old Archie comics and learn how to draw them, because that's a, you know, they're simplified, but they're still very sophisticated drawings. Okay, we'll learn how to do mannequins in perspective. We'll learn how to do 1-minute mannequins, so you can draw these mannequins out quickly in a minute. I think an important pose everybody should learn how to do is the casual stance. Okay, where everybody does this probably every day in their life. And also learning how to do the casual stance with a cell phone, because that's what people do. They're on their phones all the time. Okay, so we'll learn how to do all that in this series. But we're going to start with the basic stick figure mannequin. Master that, and then everything else will be easy from there. Okay, so that's it for this video, and you know, look forward to the next video in this series on how to draw the human body. And that's it.